the Diakonia podcast.
Hey, this is Erik with the Diakonia podcast. Thanks for tuning in. All 7 of you this month. I think that's what we had last month so far. We'll see. I'm not sure. It could boom. You never know. But we're building. We're building a library. That's what we're doing with Diakonia. I'm starting from scratch and just trying to form an audience and get people involved and get people excited about Diakonia. This week, there was some getting people excited going on. Not really. But at the same time, I was making some connections with people, randomly reaching out. I spoke with a gentleman who's in charge of a youth group, a big youth organization, and he's going to check things out and see what it's about and possibly share some of our information with them so that they can check it out, because the ute, as some people would say, which isn't me anymore, they're the ones that are going to drive this social media wise, most likely. And I was just like, hey, if you don't mind. So I'm reaching out that way to people. I started reaching out on LinkedIn a little bit, using that as a tool to kind of say, hey, this is something going on in the area. Would you mind showing this to somebody? Right now, we're there. We have, great footage. We have quality footage. It's about getting it in front of people, getting the right people to see it, getting the right organization involved that would say, hey, this is something we're big into, and distributing it out to their people and starting that social media build. It's funny because it's a money thing, because I pretty much paid for myself the first 2 shoot days. And at this point, I just need to raise some money to shoot the second 2 shoot days so we can finish the trailer. I just don't have the ability at the moment to do that. But at the same time, that's not that much. Like with $7,500, if that came in, we could shoot the next 2 shoot days and it would be amazing, and we'd have our trailer, and then that helps us build in different ways. So it's not a money thing. A lot of it right now is a social media thing, and social media is swamped. There's a lot out there. I know so many talented artists, talented people, talented musicians that are putting out interesting, fun stuff. But if for some reason you don't catch people's, desire to share it, if they don't want to get involved, if it's not something or you're not something they want to get behind, it just languishes. And right now that's where we're at. I just don't have people sharing it. I have some few committed people that are amazing, some family, yay family, that are sharing and liking everyone, and that's amazing, and I appreciate it. And that's just not enough though. Like in this day and age, and again, it's a swamped environment, so you need you need luck, you need God on your side that's like opening some doors, you need people to start caring, you need a whole bunch of little things to come together, and one big thing would be amazing, and you're off and running. And that's what we're looking for right now, is really that social media. If we can get the social media pull and drive, we can start moving into gathering. That gives you more steam when you're trying to get financing, and when you're showing your trailer to companies and they're going, oh well, they already have all these people interested. Like we're right now when it's like, oh well, no one's really doing anything with this, like why do we got to get involved? They're really looking for things where people are already big, and obviously it's a lot easier to do if we can get involved with a bigger organization who is interested in sending it out to their people and saying, hey, here's a great project, check it out. And that's a lot of what we're trying to build right now. And if you have ideas, thoughts, something, hey, do this, dummy, I'm down with that. This really isn't my bag, this side of it. I love the creation, I love writing, I love scripting, storyboards, shooting, editing, like that type of stuff. Yeah, I can do that all day. I've been pushing and pushing and pushing this boulder uphill, primarily by myself. And it's okay, and it's what you got to do sometimes, especially when there's no money behind it. But, I'm doing the best I can. So if you have ideas, or someone says, hey, contact this group, or have you ever thought of this? Have you ever thought of that? Have you heard of this obscure film site that, might be of use? I probably did, but, I'll check it out again, or I'll look and maybe I didn't. Because that's kind of part of this too. Like, people know of things I don't know. There's so much out there. There's just so much film stuff, TV stuff, music. It's, I know some great musicians, and it's a sea out there. How do you get in front of people when there's just that many people out there? And it's difficult. It's not like 15 years ago, even, with the interwebs and YouTube and, whatever, MySpace. I still have a MySpace. I got a notice, I got a new friend on MySpace, and I was like, yeah, I'm not even doing nothing on MySpace. But, MySpace, I had, I think, 20-some thousand friends for The Creek, my first feature film, which back in the day, which was a Wednesday, was, pretty dope. People were kind of like, oh, it's a lot of friends. And, but it always doesn't do anything for you. Like, people would accept friends on MySpace like nothing. So you have to get people to actually be interested in sharing and liking and engaging and doing stuff. And, that's not, it's tough. It's tough to get people to capture people nowadays, especially if you don't have the money to do marketing and be doing Google ads and Facebook ads and all sorts of things like that. It's hard to get in front of people, but we're chomping at it. We're having faith. We're persevering. We're making connections, and I'm assuming God's making connections for us that we don't even know. We can hope, we can pray. It's what we do. But Diakonia is cool. I think it has legs, and I get excited. I was talking to a couple different people. I did some We're Lebanon PA interviews. It's something I do as a positivity project locally in Lebanon. And I had some interesting organizations in, and some of them were Christian based. And I was talking to a couple people, probably too much, so I apologize if you're actually listening to this. The people I over talked on it, but I get excited. Like Diakonia, I think is just such a cool idea. It's such a unique idea. It would put out such a big net that I think you could capture so many people in, and I think you could really grab their imagination, and you could introduce them to something that they don't even realize they're getting introduced to necessarily at the time, and really pull them into something, and pull them into beliefs and faith and things in a way that they're not accustomed to. And I just think that'd be so neat. But anyway, I probably overtalked them a little because it was fun, and I was just like, yeah, because I have them. This is like a 12 episode series is what I'd like to do, like a streaming series on Netflix or something. I have season 2 already mapped out. I'm actually just as excited about season 2, and I haven't been able to make season 1 yet, which is kind of depressing, but you know what? It is what it is. You gotta love stuff, and you gotta be into stuff, and it'd be such a cool second season. It would be amazing. So if you feel so inclined, it would be amazing to have your support by sharing the podcast. Sharing our donor box page would be great. Contacting your church and saying, hey, I've heard this guy whining a lot about his project, and he's trying to get people's attention. Check out his donor box page. Me and Brock did a video on there that's pretty much, it's set up that churches could just take it, plug it in, show it to people. If churches would want to contact me or like talk to me, if someone would like to talk to me about the project, see what we're doing, I'm down for that. Go in to talk to people. Hey, here's what we're doing. Share the story with them, share the idea with them, see what they think. So I'm completely interested in that. So if you have a church that you think would want to share it, have them contact me. I would love to do it. My information is everywhere out there, but go to Anubis Productions, contact Anubis Productions, and you can contact me that way. And yeah, I don't know. I know, I think I said last week or the week before or both weeks, the one person involved in the film was kind of like, yeah, you sound down. And, it's film's a rough road, and it is ups and downs. And I have actually no reason today or this week to be up anymore. Nothing good happened. Nothing's happened that's promising. But you know what? I'm excited. I think it's a great story. I got to talk to some people this week that was just fun just to express to them about it. And honestly, they seem, like when I talk to people, it's exciting because usually they are like, wow, that's a neat idea. Wow, I didn't think of it that way. Yeah, that could do that, and I could see that. And I think that's the thing. It's something that is just, I think it's something that, if you're into film and you're a Christian, I just don't know that many projects that ever have done what I think this can do. And there's lots of great Christian projects that are very straightforward about what they do, what they're telling you, and it's great. But I just think this could have a reach to it that would really be amazing. And I just think it's a concept that you could really, like, if we do it right and if we hit the mark, we'd be able to spread an amazing story and the gospel and some faith, in it. Like, no, not some, it's based in it. But really introduce people to the more, evangelical sort of, powers and that reality that, everyone's so anxious to believe in Jedi and Star Wars. And, when you think about it, like, we have things that are just as amazing, like stories in the Bible. I've been reading Acts again, and some of the stuff in there, you're like, I've forgotten because I forget things, and you're like, what happened? Who did what? Who got stoned and then got up again? Like, there's a lot going on in there that I'm like, why don't we scream this from a mountaintop? Like, why aren't we putting this out there? Why aren't we saying to people, amazing things have happened. Amazing things do happen. Amazing things can happen. And put it out there in an amazing way, and something that can catch the imagination of kids, of adults, of people who just like good movies, of people that just, don't want to be preached at, but yet are more than interested in watching something based in faith, in Christianity, that is just a good story, and can capture their imagination. I did a podcast a couple months ago, 2 months ago, with a gentleman, and I've known him for a while. He's been out there plugging away doing his own things, and he's great. He supported the Creek back in the day, and so we go way back in some ways. And he's an atheist, and but as we were talking, like, he wanted to do the podcast with me because he supports independent filmmakers, and he likes to hear what creatives are doing, and he was like, I'm not gonna watch something that's preaching to me, but basically it was like, this is something I'd watch. Like, this is something I think could be cool. And he said, that he knows enough about the Bible, because I believe I didn't get deep in with him, but he was raised in the church to some degree. And he knows enough that he was pulling out some of those stories from the Bible where he's like, if you think about it, this is crazy. That was just like, wow. And I mean, yeah, and there is so much in there, and that you could tap into, use, reference, and pull people in, and not just have it in a way that's so straightforward that from the first 15 minutes of the film what the film's about. And there's nothing against those, they have their place, but I'm like a narrative thriller like writer. I like thrillers. I like a little bit of action there, a little bit of superhero stuff's cool. I definitely like a little bit of supernatural in most of what I do, and a lot of it, looking back, taps into my youth of growing up in a Pentecostal church, and has to tend to feed back that way somehow. And I think that's like, that's the fun of it, though. Like, capture people, with that when they're not expecting. Everyone nowadays is talking about woke movies, woke movies, woke movies. A lot of those movies aren't woke. They have woke moments. They have moments that you're like, oh, they had to put that in. Yep, oh, they had to do that. Or they have a woke underpinning that it's not in your face, but you know what they're saying. And the thing is, we don't fight back that way. Like, and fight back, I know, can be a phrase that people frown on, but we don't, it is a culture war, and we're not winning because we don't do movies like this. We don't do movies like Diakonia, where, it is a good film with underpinnings. It's a good film that, isn't smacking you in the face with something, but you walk away from it thinking, and you walk away from it going, that might have had some things in there. And that's how slowly the culture has shifted. And they've shifted us in the wrong direction, where if we start to make movies like Diakonia, if we start to make, series like Diakonia, if we start to make projects that, aren't directly, don't have to punch people in the face with what we want them to know, but we do it in a subtle way. We do it in an amazing way. We do it in a way that they're like, oh man, this is great. And, I know some people don't like that. Like, they think you have to, completely and totally just smack people around. And I don't know. I disagree. I'd love to watch things that, people argue about and go, I think that was a Christian movie. They just made me watch. They tricked me into watching. I mean, that would be awesome. I think that would do something. That would move the meter a little bit. And I think that's what we have to look at, more so than putting things out that don't necessarily capture imagination, or maybe just aren't good movies. Because I'm sorry, a good movie isn't something that starts with, I'm going to learn you something, and at the end of the movie you learn them something. That's generally not an entertaining movie. That's generally more, an educational movie. And if you want to have people watching these things, you can't look at every episode like this has to function in a certain way, except for telling a good story. And I want to tell an amazing story that's based in an even more amazing story, and have people go, wow, is that real? Did that happen? The Bible does say that, right? People did have these powers. What people believe you still can. Like, I think that's just a story to tell. So anyway, I'm more upbeat this week. It was nice talking to people, and that's why you kind of got a talking to yourself. And I just kind of wanted to share that with you, and that's the podcast for this week. And hopefully, again, share, like, friend. I'm on all the social medias. Getter, pretty much. I mean, Getter, Twitter, Instagram. Instagram's big. I put out behind the scenes every other day. Our Facebook gets a behind the scenes every other day. Diakonia Facebook, Diakonia on everything. There's not too many Diakonias out there. So try Diakonia. If it doesn't hit Diakonia Film, you'll get it. And just, tell your friends. Get excited. Be excited. Be excited about something different. Be excited about supporting us. And, show it. Care about it. People know when you care about something. Put stuff up. Share our posts. Tell people, hey, this is going to be awesome. Let's do this. Because that's what we need. And that's what, I don't know, right now after COVID and war in Ukraine and everything else, like, I just want to be excited about something. And I want to have other people excited and hopefully get them excited. So thank you so much. It's always good boring you. I'm a talker, so I apologize if I do. But thank you so much. And if you could support us or have ideas, send them our way. Have a great weekend.
The Diakonia Podcast.